When I was 13, I stumbled across a documentary about music therapy, completely by mistake. Fronted by Paul McCartney, I saw music therapists making musical experiences accessible to children and adults with significant disabilities. I was completely transfixed. Through my teenage eyes, these were people who were so different to me. But they were getting from music the same things that made music really important to me at that stage in my life. They were using musical instruments that I recognized to express themselves and to reveal aspects of their personality. They were working together with their friends. They were listening to each other. And in doing these things, they were experiencing huge purpose. They were demonstrating enjoyment. This was exactly what I got from music. This was what led me to turn up for rehearsals and volunteer to join in with musical things, to mess around on the piano with my friends. And this was the starting point for me, for my passionate belief in the power of music therapy to provide support and assistance to people facing challenges at all stages in life. I'm not just going to talk about me today, but I would like to take you on a bit of a journey to think about how music has an important part to play for us all at different stages of our lives. This really came to life for me when I had my gap year between school and university, and I found myself as a volunteer in an orphanage in Romania. Now, I'm really pleased to say that, of course, in the last 30 years, Romania is a country transformed, and the care system has been through dramatic reform. But for people of a certain age, the images that came through the media after the fall of communism were pretty startling and probably still stay with us. Images of children languishing in cots without sufficient support. So there I was. Oh, I had so much good intention, but I was a really hapless teenager, and it didn't take me long to realize I didn't have the skills that these children needed. And when I talked to local carers, they confessed that they didn't think they did either, that they didn't have much access to training. And although they were doing the best they could, they had very, very few resources available to them. They were worried they weren't meeting the needs of the children themselves. And this got me thinking, could music somehow be a key way for these children to have opportunities to develop relationships and connections with the people around them? This ultimately led me to set up the charity Music as Therapy International, and to this day we seek to train carers to embed music into the work they do with vulnerable children and adults of all ages. We started our work in Romania, and we've now extended to other countries, and we've also brought our learning back here to the UK, where we seek to embed our learning to support care practice here. So what I'd like to do now is take the focus away from me and introduce you to some of the people I've met over the last 25 years. Now, the people I'm going to tell you about, I've actually changed their names. I'm not using their real names, and some of the more personal details I've adjusted slightly, but their stories really reflect the stories that I've heard from them and the encounters I've had during my working life. From our very earliest days, music and musical components are integral to the way we connect with the people around us. If you think about a small baby before it can speak, we use pitch to recognize the sounds that the baby produces, the pitch of our own voices. We respond to the rhythm of their babble. We pick up on the intensity or the speed with which they produce social sounds. And in doing so, we align our emotional states, our non-verbal communication. We're showing them, I hear you, I understand you, I care about you. So it's no great surprise to imagine that music could have a really strong part to play in supporting the development of children in their early years. Mihai was a very young boy when I met him first in Romania. He was mostly left lying in a cot. He didn't have muscle strength to sit up, and without an attentive parent or caring adult by his side, he hadn't had his curiosity stimulated. He had stopped seeking things out in the world around him. He was often glassy-eyed and would lie sucking his fingers or swinging his head. A Romanian carer brought Mihai into a room with a music therapist and some musical instruments. She sat him on the bench in front of her, supporting him from behind because he couldn't hold himself up. The music therapist sat in front, and she had with her simple musical instruments like you would recognize from a primary school setting. She chose a small cymbal and held it up in front of Mihai. She sounded it, and a tinny chime rang out. Mihai lifted his head uncertainly and sought to find the source of this sound. As it faded away to silence, his head drooped, and the music therapist struck the cymbal again. Slightly more quickly and with a little more focus, Mihai lifted his head to find the instrument. Together with the Romanian carer, the music therapist looked at the way different musical instruments could give Mihai different experiences. And by looking really closely at how he responded, the things that he looked at, the things that he listened to, they could see that this withdrawn, passive boy had preferences. And he could begin to show us aspects of his personality. None of us expected a sudden chuckle from him when a particularly loud sound startled him. But the silences between the musical instruments were important as well, because those were the moments when Mihai sought out the person producing the sounds. He would look to see who did this. Are you going to do it again? Oh, I like that. Or, frowning, I don't like that. A year later, we returned to the same place, and the Romanian carer was really eager to show us how Mihai was doing. She carried him into the room. He was wearing a really baggy t-shirt and tights, and she had him on her hip, and already we could see he was stronger. And then she brought him over to where there was a large cymbal on a stand, and she stood him in front of it, steadying him as he found his feet, and she handed him a beater. And then she carefully removed her support and walked round to face him. Mihai played the cymbal, and the Romanian carer responded, playing back to him. Mihai was so focused and so motivated by making music, by sounding the cymbal, exchanging musical sounds with the Romanian carer, that he was distracted from the physical endeavor of standing. Through music, Mihai had the opportunity to develop a trusting relationship with someone who wanted to get to know him. She was commenting on what they were playing and acknowledging how he was playing. And through music, he had this opportunity to develop skills and practice things that his early childhood experience had robbed from him. Moving on, I'd like to introduce you to Ahmed and Mohammed, who were teenagers. What could music offer during those turbulent adolescent years? You might think that the opportunity to get involved with musical activities would be a bit childish, it might get dismissed, but actually, Ahmed and Mohammed seized on this opportunity. They were both exuberant young men with winning smiles and charisma, but their quick banter could quite easily deteriorate into argy-bargy in the playground. In the music sessions, they were able to harness this energy in a more positive way. Armed with a drum each, they faced each other and fired single sounds. The force with which they struck the head of the drum, the skin of the drum, the quick exchange between them, and it would build up into a frenzy of mutual drumming. Now, this could have been something that in the playground might have spilt out into pushing and shoving. But somehow, the music contained that energy. It dissipated the aggression, and they were able to meet each other with the same mood without antagonizing and provoking, and to enjoy being together in a way that was safe and creative. And the really great thing was, Their teacher said that the fighting in the playground went down as well. Moving into adulthood, I'd like to come back to the UK to introduce you to Shane, who was a young man, an older man, in his 20s, young compared to me, who had learning disabilities and physical disabilities. He attended a specialist day centre in Scotland, and there he was able to be part of a music group. After he'd been attending sessions for a number of weeks and months, the activity leader made time to sit down with him and asked him, what was it about music that was important to him? Firstly, Shane said there's something physical about it. As someone who uses a wheelchair, he sometimes didn't do as much physical exercise as he felt he should or could, but the musical instruments demanded him to use his arms and motivated him to do so. He also talked about the social aspect of the group. Again, as somebody who needs quite a lot of help to do a lot of things in his life, Shane often found he had an adult by his side supporting him, making it possible for him to do various things. And that can be quite intense. You've always got someone focusing on you. And he liked the fact that the music group was social and that adult attention was shared. So solo turns were taken, but they were passed on to other people. You could play together with people, be part of something bigger. You could have times where you joined in, you could have times when you just listened and enjoyed what other people were doing. And as Shane explained, he said, I like that it's not all about me. In contrast, for a group of people living with terminal illness in Ethiopia's only hospice, what they loved was that the music was about them. For some of them, it was the only place where they felt they could talk freely about sadness, anger, joy, without feeling they might be judged. In their music sessions, the music leader would start with just a check-in with everybody. How are you feeling? If you could play how you're feeling today, what instrument would you choose? Would you like to have a go? The atmosphere was intimate and confiding. Challenges about life and everything that they were living with were shared. One of the patients at the hospice said, music's my medicine. But actually, I think so many of us here know that. We're all constantly self-medicating. We are curating the music we listen to support us with how we're feeling or what we need to do to shape our mood. Good thing is, music hasn't got many side effects. Moving on through the lifespan, the last person I'd like to introduce you to is Gladys. Gladys is 104 and living with advanced dementia. There's been a lot of coverage in the media about the role that music can play for people living with dementia. You may have your own experiences of it. We know that music can stimulate memories and cognitive function. Who hasn't been catapulted back in time when you've accidentally caught a familiar song from your past when you weren't expecting it? Suddenly you're finding yourself remembering your university days or a different chapter of your life. But for Gladys, music was something slightly different. It offered her some relief from some of the more distressing symptoms of dementia. Stress and agitation. Gladys had a phrase that she would repeat all the time. Sometimes it was a bit mumbled, sometimes it was clearer, but it was always the same words. Let me die, let me die, let me die. It was a really tragic and stressful place to get stuck regularly. For Gladys, music could offer a distraction from this uncomfortable reverie. And with thoughtful support, it could draw her into a different moment of meaningful interaction. There was an occasion when one of her carers was seated with Gladys and had a drum, and she tapped it to show what it could do. She held it out to Gladys, who took it from her. Gladys tapped it, turned it, looked around it, surprised everyone with a very lucid sentence, "I can't get the lid off," and tapped it again. And the carer, who had some bells, tapped them. Gladys reached out to the bells. They exchanged instruments. Gladys had the bells. And she wasn't chanting. She was able to be in the music, to exchange sounds in a way that was meaningfully connecting them. After a few moments, Gladys did return to her phrase, "Let me die." But when she did so, she tapped the rhythm on the bells, "Let me die." And the carer, who sometimes felt at a bit of a loss to know what she could do to support Gladys when she was stuck with her mournful mantra, the carer saw an opportunity to stay connected, to acknowledge what Gladys was saying, but to redirect the focus. So Gladys had her bells, "Let me die." And the carer had the drum, and she responded, "Let me play." Now, music isn't magic. It can't cure dementia. But for Gladys, it could offer her a moment of respite and some meaningful connection. So all of these people, and time and again throughout my working life, they've just kept showing me, teaching me the same things that I saw when I was 13. Just how significant music can be for us all. But you all know that. I mean, I'm sure the vast majority of people in this room are using music all the time. Whether it's the music you listen to when you're going for a run or singing to entertain a frustrated child. Music is this unique form of expression that we all share, through which we can share commonality and difference and be human together. Thank you.